Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Before we dive into the abyss, if you're into stories where steel, strategy, and sheer human determination collide to change the course of history, do us a solid. Hit that subscribe button and smash the bell icon. This isn't just another tank story. This is a saga about survival, evolution, and a machine that refused to become obsolete. And I need you with me until the very end, because your thoughts in the comments are the best part. Let's get into it. Part 1. The Phoenix in the Storm, Birth of a Universal Soldier. Picture this. It's 1943. The world is on fire. In the fields of Europe, Allied tank crews are facing a waking nightmare. Their trusty Shermans and Cromwells go up against the new German beasts, the Panzer V Panther and the Tiger I. It's not a fight, it's a slaughter. British shells bounce off the thick German armor like pebbles, while high-velocity German rounds slice through Allied tanks like a hot knife through butter. The mood in British high command? A mix of cold dread and desperate urgency. They needed an answer. Not a stopgap, not an upgrade, but a revolution. The old doctrine was dead. The idea of separate infantry tanks, slow, heavy, and cruiser tanks, fast, light, had been obliterated on the battlefield. What they needed was one machine to do it all. A single chariot that combined firepower, protection, and mobility. They called it the Universal Tank. We know it today as the main battle tank. And its first true embodiment was born in the drawing offices of the AEC factory in Southall. The project, codenamed A41, moved with wartime speed. The first prototype rolled out in 1944. Serial production began in January 1945. And here's the first great irony, the cruel poetry of history. The first Centurion tanks reached frontline units in May 1945. The war in Europe was over. The machine designed specifically to kill Panthers and Tigers had missed its intended war. Most projects would have been stillborn, canceled, sent to the scrapyard of what-ifs. But the Centurion was different. It wasn't born for a war. It was born for the future of war. It arrived not as a relic, but as a prophet. It became the world's first true main battle tank, a generation ahead of its time. And if you look at any modern Western tank, the Abrams, the Leopard 2, the Challenger 2, and trace its engineering DNA back far enough, you'll find the Centurion. It's the common ancestor, the atom of the tank family tree. Part 2. The anatomy of an enduring legend. Heart, brain, and fist. So what was in this thing? What made it so special? Its genius wasn't in being the best at any one thing from day one. It was in its perfect balance and, most importantly, its capacity for growth. Initially, they aimed for a 40-ton machine. Reality hit fast. The baseline Mk1 weighed in at 43 tons. Later versions would bulge past 51. Why? Because it was designed to accept weight. To evolve. The hull, classic layout. Driver in the front, fighting compartment in the center, engine in the back. A crew of 4. Its suspension was the Horseman system, paired wheels on vertical springs. It gave an incredibly smooth ride over rough ground. This meant the crew arrived less shaken, less tired, and could aim more accurately on the move. This wasn't a cart. It was a mobile fighting platform. The heart. Power came from a Rolls-Royce Meteor V12 petrol engine, churning out around 600 horsepower. Let's be honest, it was thirsty. Its range was short, maybe 190 kilometers. Its top speed was a modest 35 kilometers per hour on roads. But it was robust and had enough power for its time. Crucially, it was also replaceable, a fact that would become its salvation later. The fist, and this is critical, the Centurion story is the story of its gun. Think of it like a smartphone. You keep the same sturdy body, but over the years, you swap in a better camera, a faster processor. The Centurion did this with its main armament across 3 distinct generations. Generation 1. The early Mk1 and Mk2 carried the famed British 76.2mm QF 17-pounder. A proven tank killer from World War II. A solid start. Generation 2. The Mk3 got an upgrade to the more powerful 83.4mm QF 20-pounder. A significant step up. But British intelligence was already looking east at new Soviet designs with thicker armor. Generation 3, the game changer. In the late 1950s, it happened. The 105mm L7 rifle gun was fitted to the Centurion, starting with the Mk5 and 2. This wasn't just an upgrade. This was a tectonic shift. The L7 was so accurate, so powerful, so brilliantly engineered that it became the undisputed gold standard for NATO tank guns for the next 3 decades. It was fitted to the American M60, the German Leopard 1, the Swedish STRV 103. It was a masterpiece, and the Centurion was its first champion. Overnight, the tank transformed from a competent post-war design into the most fearsome tank killer on the planet. The armor evolved too. The frontal glacis plate thickened from 76mm to over 126, sloped back at a sharp angle. The turret face, a massive casting, grew to over 200mm in later marks. It was a rolling fortress that kept getting tougher. Part 3. Baptism by Ice and Fire, Korea. The first real test came not in Europe, but in the frozen, mountainous hell of Korea. In late 1950, the British Army sent Centurion Mk3s to the front. The debut was almost comically disastrous. Weighing nearly 50 tons, the first thing these behemoths did was collapse several Korean bridges not built for such weight. It was a humbling logistical fiasco. But once they got into position, the narrative flipped completely. In Korea's harsh terrain, large-scale tank battles were rare. The Centurion found its calling as the ultimate direct fire support weapon. Its accurate gun became a surgeon's tool. A communist bunker on a distant ridge? Obliterated. An artillery position? Silenced. Its APS-BC shells could punch through the frontal armor of a Soviet-made T-34-85 from over 2.5 kilometers away. Imagine being that T-34 crew. You see a flash on the horizon, and your world ends before you can even get within effective range. There's an almost symbolic first tank duel recorded. A Centurion engaging and destroying a Chinese-operated, captured British Cromwell from 2,700 meters. The new era coldly erasing the old. In Korea, the Centurion proved its core virtues: phenomenal accuracy, rugged reliability, and the devastating power of a great gun on a stable platform. Part 4. The Giant Killer, India and the Patent Graveyard. Now, fast forward to the dusty plains of the Indian subcontinent. In the mid-1950s, a newly independent India made a savvy bet. It purchased around 250 Centurions. Its rival, Pakistan, was equipped with the shiny new symbols of American alliance: the M47 and M48 Patent tanks. Everyone expected the sleek, modern Patents to dominate. The 1965 war provided the answer. The climactic moment was the Battle of Assault-Uttar, one of the largest tank battles since World War II. And here, simple physics decided the fight. The Indian Centurion's 105mm L7 gun could penetrate the frontal armor of a Patent from about 1,200 meters. The Patent's 90mm gun, however, needed to close to under 800 meters to defeat the Centurion's front. That 400-meter gap was a killing field. Indian tankers, many veterans of World War II, used their superior range and gun discipline like snipers. They systematically destroyed the advancing Pakistani armor. Pakistan lost 72 Patents. The battlefield earned the grim nickname Patent Graveyard. India lost 32 tanks of all types. This was more than a victory, it was a statement. Western technological prestige, represented by the Patent, was shattered by British pragmatic design, thoughtfully upgraded. The Centurion, already a decade old at that point, had slain the newer, flashier king. It happened again in the 1971 war, with acts of legendary heroism, like Lieutenant Arun Khetrapal's last stand in his Centurion, holding off a superior force. In India, the Centurion transcended metal. It became a symbol of national resolve. Part 5. The Second Wind, Israel's Shotcal Light Whip. If India showed the Centurion's prowess, Israel demonstrated its immortality. The Israelis are the ultimate pragmatists of warfare. They got their first Centurions in 1959. They loved the 105 millimeters gun and the tank survivability. But they despised the Meteor engine. Its thirst and temperament were liabilities in the vast, hot deserts. So they did what they do best. They reinvented it. In a masterstroke of engineering, they ripped out the British power plant and replaced it with a more fuel-efficient, reliable American diesel engine. The Continental AVES 1790, coupled with an Allison automatic transmission from the M60 tank. The result was the Shot Cow, light whip. The name said it all. It was faster, nimbler, meaner. The old warhorse had been given the heart of a racehorse. And this reborn Centurion faced its ultimate trial in the Yom Kippur War of 1973. On the Golan Heights, a handful of Israeli brigades equipped with shot cows stood against an overwhelming tide of modern Syrian T-62s. What followed was pure, apocalyptic heroism. Outnumbered, sometimes 10-1, the Israeli crews fought until their tanks were burning husks. They bought time with blood and steel. The Centurion's armor, now supplemented with Israeli Blazer reactive armor tiles in some cases, saved many crews, but the losses were horrific. Yet they held. And in that crucible of fire, a new lesson was learned. The vulnerability to infantry anti-tank weapons and the limits of upgrading a 1940s hull were starkly clear. This painful, direct experience with the Centurion's final evolution directly inspired and shaped the philosophy of Israel's next-generation tank, the Merkava, a tank built from the ground up with crew survival as its paramount principle. The Centurion didn't just serve Israel. It was the painful, invaluable teacher that birthed a new legend. Part 6, The Last Evolutions, South Africa's Oliphant and the Oddballs. The Centurion's adaptability seemed endless. Australians used it in the jungles of Vietnam. Jordan, Sweden, the Netherlands, the list goes on. But its most radical, late-life transformation happened in apartheid-era South Africa. Under a crushing international arms embargo, South Africa couldn't buy new tanks. So they took their old British Centurions and performed the most comprehensive makeover imaginable. The result was the Oliphant, elephant. New engine, new transmission, new fire control computers, add-on armor. The final Mk.2 version, fielded in the 2000s, was a modern fighting machine that bore only a skeletal resemblance to its ancestor. It fought in the Angolan Bush War, a brutal and different kind of conflict where landmines and breakdowns in harsh terrain were as deadly as enemy tanks. And let's not forget the wild derivatives. The British experimented with the chassis, creating absolute monsters. The FE 4005 Stage 2, for instance, mounted a ludicrous 183mm gun, a weapon so huge it looked like a cartoon. The Centurion AVRE, Armored Vehicle Royal Engineers, carried a short, fat 165mm demolition gun for blasting bunkers. It was the ultimate test bed for wild ideas. Part 7. The Legacy. Why a 1940s tank matters to us today. So what's the final tally? Over 4,400 built. Service in over 20 countries. A combat career spanning from 1945 into the 2000s, nearly 60 years. In our world of planned obsolescence, where gadgets are outdated in months, that is a staggering testament. What was the secret sauce? The right idea, fully committed to. The universal tank concept was visionary. The Centurion proved it worked. Engineered for evolution. Its designers built in growth margins in armor, weight, and systems that its contemporaries simply didn't have. It was a platform, not a finished product. The Golden Gun. The adoption of the 105mm L7 was its superpower unlock, granting it dominance for a generation. Survivability and crew trust. It was famously tough. Crews loved it because it brought them home. That intangible factor, morale, is priceless in war. The Centurion teaches us that foundational excellence, thoughtful design, and built-in potential will always outlast flashy, short-term solutions. It was built for a war that ended, yet defined the wars that followed. It's a monument to the idea that with the right foundation, You can adapt, overcome, and endure. All right, that's my take. Now I'm turning it over to you. This is where it gets interesting. Where do you see the spirit of the Centurion today? Is there a modern piece of tech, a vehicle, a weapon system, or even a software platform that has this same incredible longevity, a foundational design that just keeps getting updated and remains relevant decades later? Let's get a conversation going in the comments below. Your insights are what make this channel a community. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's most enduring machines, help me make more. Smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and ring the bell. Tell me what legendary piece of engineering you want us to break down next. Your support is the fuel that keeps this history engine running. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.